Unlike a lot of people, I'm probably part of the group of people that thought that Anthony was guilty to a certain extent. But at the same time, I felt like he was innocent too. And I'm going to tell you why. That's why I was like, I wasn't sure. I'm going to tell you why. One of the things I noticed is they did not give us no footage. They did not give us anything to show that dude was innocent or guilty. We started seeing clips of things of his character, but then we also seen the narrative painted for McCaff that he was a good dude. But then we started to see things of people putting stuff on social media and on platforms that dude was not a good kid. We don't really know how any of these people are. We just going off of what we're seeing. So we're judging through the things that's presented to us. But they found them guilty.
It's live now from Fox, and we are tracking the latest with that trial coming out of Texas, where we do have that verdict and sentencing now into that trial, where this coming from Fox News' X-account breaking. Karmelo Anthony has been sentenced to 35 years in prison. Anthony was found guilty of murder on Tuesday for the stabbing death of Austin Metcalf at a high school track meet. He will be eligible for parole after half time served. And this case really grabbed the entire country by storm here. A lot of eyes on it across the world. And this is where we want to bring in Kelly Hyman, who is an attorney and legal analyst who...
Look, 35 years. You know the sad part about this? No one wins. And I'm going to tell you how. You got a kid that lost his life due to whatever circumstances they went through. I don't know how the situation went. We know they fought or shoved each other. Either way, someone got stabbed, which was McCaff. He lost his life. Karmelo Anthony did the stabbing, but he said it was self-defense. We don't know. All we know is the jurors found that he was guilty. Wherever it showed in the footage, it was not presented to the public. We are basically analyzing everything off of he says, she said. But the narrative is all about race. This is why I find this it's wild, because when you look at a couple weeks ago with the Asian guy, Chinese guy, I can't remember if he's Asian or Chinese, whatever. I'm sorry, I apologize. He shot the kid in the back. Now, there's so many narratives that are being presented to the people off that situation, and that's a totally different case. It's the same thing. It's like a race. I don't know what's going on. It's like a race thing. I don't know. We all see what's going on. But at the end of the day, people are being unalived due to circumstances of disagreements or someone stealing that they thought stole. Like, it's, hey man, it's not playing out right now. It's wild. We living in wild times.
Is here to break down the latest with us. Kelly, thank you so much for being with us this morning. So can you break down the arguments of both sides here for us when it comes to the prosecution and defense as well? Which of the prosecution's arguments really could have been the deciding factor here for the jury?
The prosecution brought the case and they have the burden. What that means is they need to prove each element of the causes of action. And so the charge was murder. And for the prosecution standpoint, in order to prove that, they must prove that defendant intentionally or knowingly killed another person or intentionally caused them harm. Intent is really key. From the defense standpoint, they don't have to prove anything. They just have a defense, and their defense was self-defense. But ultimately, based on the evidence presented by the prosecutor, the jury came back and convicted him of murder.
Now, what I find striking is they were saying that while he was in court and they was doing the self-defense, it was very weak. From what I'm hearing, it was weak. Very weak was because when they looked at the footage, it did not correspond to what Karmelo was saying. Along with also looking at a lot of people that testified and their stories kind of matched up correctly. So it looks like as if like Karmelo could have walked away and he was also in the area that he had no business being. That's the problem right now. We don't know. We keep hearing that. But then we also hearing that McCaff was suspended. Yo, it's like, I don't know who's putting these stories out, but it's looking like that stories were put out to confuse people, to make the public, I'm jack that word up, the public, you know what I'm trying to say, it's early in the morning. They're trying to find you guilty, but then they trying to get the people over here, which are, my people, black people, to look at Karmelo and say, wait a minute, this was self-defense. This is the problem though. Nobody was there. Nobody's seen the actual footage from the beginning to the end. We're going off of he say, she say. We don't know. But when he's in court, these are the outcomes that you end up seeing once you in front of the jury, and they're looking at the evidence and they're looking over everything, and they're saying to themselves, this does not seem like a self-defense. This looked like he might have been the aggressor too. Like he was having a back and forth. Especially if you start having a back and forth with somebody, they already seeing you a lot different.
And we do have here this expose for the Fox News US where it shows the new mugshot. Karmelo Anthony, photographed after conviction for murdering Austin Metcalf in the Texas track meet stabbing last year. The fatal attack happened in April 2025 at a high school athletic event, and Anthony has now been sentenced for the killing, and this is credit to the Collin County Sheriff's Office. So we know during the court trial as well that there were potential reasons the jury opted for a murder conviction rather than a lesser charge of manslaughter. Could you break down the reasonings behind this as well?
Sure. So the jury heard evidence, and based on the evidence presented, they believed that the lesser charge of manslaughter shouldn't apply. And so what exactly is manslaughter? Manslaughter is a reckless killing. But if we go to the regular murder, that has the intent or knowing. And so based on multiple witnesses and testifying, the jury most likely thought that it wasn't in fact a manslaughter case, but it was in fact a murder case. And that's why, based on the evidence presented, that they believe that he should be charged with the higher charge. Now, it's important to remember from a sentencing standpoint, when you look at the murder charge, the sentencing could have been anywhere from 5 years to 99 years. Now, manslaughter.
Now, I'm going to say this, yo. For his case, for what he was found on, guilty on, it's an offense that's unforgivable. Especially when you lose a child or a relative. It's a life loss. Not only it's a life loss, you think about this. It was 5 to 99 years or something like that. Something crazy. I forgot what it is. 5 to something. I forgot what she said. But think about it. From 5 all the way up to whichever number. He got 35. You had people sitting up there saying, yo, he might get 10. It's a possibility he might do 20. People was guessing. When that 35 went in, whoa. And if I'm not mistaken, he's already a teenager. So 35, 45, 55. So he's probably going to get out around about 50-something years old. If that, I don't know. Could be earlier due to parole. Depends. Damn, man. I'm not saying his life going, but basically, his life is going. If you have to start living life at age 50-something, damn. Basic close to 60. What you got?
is a lesser charge. And so what that means is if convicted, which he was convicted, then the sentencing would be lesser, 2 years to potentially 20 years. So based on the fact that they determined that it was murder, the manslaughter didn't apply.
And when we look at the process of the jury deliberation when it comes to the sentencing, how does that look like when the jury is deliberating? Because the punishment could have been from 5 years to 99 years. How did the jury land on that 35-year
mark?
From
5 to 99.
And how does that work as well when they decide parole, as he would be eligible for parole after half that time is served?
Sure. So Texas has an interesting way of handling things. So first, in fact, there's the guilty phase. And then once there is the guilty phase, then there's kind of like a mini trial where, in fact, each side can put on evidence to present what exactly the penalty is. And both sides waived. They didn't have any type of opening statement. The prosecutor did not bring any witnesses, but the defense had his mother testify and basically asked for mercy on the court. So after hearing that, the jury made a determination whether to give him 5 years or 99 years. Now, the factors in which the jury would look at, they would look at the fact that the age of the victim, also the age of the defendant. Now, it's important to remember that he was 17 at the time. And so what that means is, from a legal perspective, that the death penalty and life in jail without the possibility of parole was not on the table. So they didn't have to deal with that. But considering the defendant's age, also his criminal record, his history, his grade point average, considering all the different factors. And it's important to remember that the 12 jurors, when making a determination on the exact amount, how long, they must unanimously agree. So probably back in the jury room, there was discussions on what you think is fair between that time period, knowing that he was 17 at the time, and potentially said, okay, he's 17 years old, 35, that puts him potentially in his 50s. But as you pointed out, that there's a possibility of parole, but that's not available till half the term of the 35 years. And then at that point, then it could be considered. But it's also important to remember that most likely we're going to see appeals in this conviction.
Amen. Dude has an uphill battle to go to court and get 35 years. Damn. Off of a dispute that turned into someone losing their life. I'll tell you right now, before I end this video, I'm going to say this. I think this is a prime example for a lot of older and younger. It's better to just walk away, especially when you start looking at the scenarios and how things can kind of play out. It ain't worth it. It ain't. Y'all be safe. Like and subscribe.